Hey everyone, Kim here with Abundant Life Tarot. Welcome to another Mystery Mystic Monday. I was going to do this as a live stream, but I realized it's going to be Halloween this October 31st, and I'm going to be probably pretty busy with meetings and such. So I just decided to record it and I premiere instead. So we'll be doing a live stream soon, I promise you. I did want to revisit a couple of cases that I had did readings on, and I have my reasons behind it. I want to just, also pick your brains about some things that have come up. And what I appreciate about my viewers, my subscribership, is how thoughtful you all are, respectful. You present some really thought-provoking things about the cases that we cover. And I just really appreciate you. I can tell that I have the thinkers over here. I have the folks who also are very empathetic and empathic. And that means a lot to me. So I just want to first and foremost thank those of you who show up for the work that I'm doing over here. And you are just so kind and so gracious. Thank you. Um, I've seen some things as a YouTube content creator and a YouTube maybe viewer, and some things that just doesn't really sit right with me. It's when I see certain psychics or people who do EVPs or people who are doing readings over and over and over and over again. And then not just doing that, that doesn't bother me. Oftentimes we want to keep, plugging at it to get more and more answers and more feedback from spirit. I get it. But then when you start inserting yourself into a case, and this also is speaking to YouTube true crime content creators too, not just those who do mediumship or psychic work. It bothers me. When you start to insert yourself as opposed to reporting on the story as a true crime content creator or interpreting the energies, and keeping some level of distance as a psychic, and you start becoming the story, you start attacking the people who are involved in a case, or you start siding with them and interviewing with them and doing all this stuff. It just is like, well, first of all, it, I don't know, it's a bit much. And second, and most importantly of all, you could be hampering the investigation later down the line or the prosecution later down the line. If a defense attorney comes forward with information that was presented during a YouTube live stream and it's a potential witness or defendant, that could pose a problem later down the line that lay people who don't normally have to deal with prosecutions or deal with investigations, they may not understand the gravity of what they're doing and what they are engaging in at the time that they're doing it. But it's just, I want us to stay as ethical as possible. And how you do that is by having a certain level of distance from the case. Um, yeah, so that's just something I needed to get off my chest. Y'all may know, if you follow the true crime sector, you may know who I'm talking about, especially now with the Quinton Simon case, but also with the Kylie Rodney case, and then also with certain psychics who just get way invested. And it's like, I get being passionate about it. I understand it immensely, but you got to know your place. I'm sure other people feel differently, and that's okay. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but this is my opinion. So, take it for what it's worth. If it's just worth 2 cents, it's just worth 2 cents. But that's just me. Over here, we learn and grow in tarot. Me and my group, my fam, my peeps. That's what we do. And if we go back and look at the cards later and we are able to see something that we didn't see early on when we were doing the reading in the beginning of the case, we are open-minded and we don't just hold steadfast to a theory because of our pride and our ego. We keep an open mind. Yes, you want to hold on to what spirit has given you. And this is why I like to revisit cases. I like to look at the cards again, after some time has passed and see how the cards have revealed themselves now that time has passed. That's what I like to do before now, you go off and do another reading. When I take on doing another reading, a follow-up reading, a revisit to a case, it is because spirit has guided me to do so. Not always necessarily because a viewer or subscriber has asked me to, but if they've asked me, then I'll sit with it and I'll ask spirit and ask my ancestors and my guides if it is appropriate at this time. If my guides say no, I don't do it. I won't do it. And I'm not saying other readers don't have the same protocol. They have their own, guides or follow what is best for them. But this is what's best for me. So with that being said, I just want to just get that off my chest. And I don't know when when I'm gonna be able to get that off my chest again. But yeah, so anyways, more Mystery Mystic Monday videos will be coming. I did take a break. Some of you know that I was involved in a little hurricane, and it was my first one, and it kind of knocked me down for a bit. And it wasn't, thankfully, I didn't have a lot of property damage. That wasn't the issue. It impacted my work because power was down, internet was down for almost 2 weeks. So a lot was impacted and my mental health was impacted. And when my mental health is impacted, it makes it very difficult for me to be in a headspace to do heavy readings, such as the ones that I do for Mystery Mystic Mondays. I had to save my energy and bandwidth for my paying clients who were booking with me. And I'm grateful they booked with me to help support me, okay, during a trying time. So now that things have settled down and things are getting back to normal, I'm being called to do these readings again, and I'm excited to do them. And I'm just grateful to be in a position to do so. So that's a quick update about that. I just want to make sure I'm touching on all the updates before we dive into the cards. And we may even throw some cards today in this video on Quinton and on Debbie. We'll see what's revealed in our review of the cards that have already come about. And I encourage other readers, especially if you're doing readings and even just psychic downloads, I encourage folks to revisit what you have already interpreted. Okay. You don't necessarily have to keep doing reading after reading after reading, session after session after session. Often the answers have already been given to you. You just have to go back and listen or review. That's just me. Again, that's how I roll. Not everybody rolls like that, and that's okay. But maybe you're contemplating thinking about doing these kind of readings, or maybe you find it absolutely taxing to constantly do reading after reading after reading. Well, just give yourself a break. Spirit doesn't need you to do all that. Spirit doesn't want you to do all that. You could just simply go back and look at what has already been downloaded for the answers. All right. I have so many little tabs, making sure I cover everything. So next week, I'm going to be getting back to my plan of recording Mystery Mystic Monday readings. I'm wrapping up Jasmine Moody. I've been meaning to do that for a while. I'm starting another cold case. And then any new cases that pop up, I'll do. The thing about doing new cases is I do prefer to do them as fresh as possible before I start to be inundated with people's theories or before time has elapsed, because a lot of times people who are doubters, who don't believe, non-believers, they will try to say that psychics and mediums and readers, all they do is just check background information. And that's how they get their information on the case. Well, not if it's a brand new case. And if we're revealing things, and many of us are revealing the similar or same things across the board, and if we did the readings early on, you'll see like, no, no, not the case. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share a video from a true crime content creator. She usually does cold solved cases, but in her most recent video that I watched, and I forgot the name, I think it's Brooke McKenna. Um, she did a case where it's solved out of New York, I believe, and a psychic was involved, and the police actually um, utilized some of the information that the psychic had gleaned and revealed. And I want to share that with you because I think for non-believers, they need to understand that there's some things that are just beyond your scope of understanding. And the reason why I like to do new cases, A, is because I like to bring awareness, especially if it's a case of a person of color, and the chances of them getting the appropriate attention is slim. I like to raise that awareness for their case. The other reason is because of the doubters, those who are like, oh, well, she just, she researched it. Now, my peeps, y'all don't ever be making these weird accusations. I just see it on other psychics or mediums or readers comment sections, and I'm like, okay. Or in the Facebook groups, I see it there as well. So, okay. So yeah, I'm gonna do this as a premiere, so that way you all can interact with me as I'm going through the cards in just a few moments for each of these two cases. And yeah, I think we're done here. Now what I'm gonna do is I am going to share my screen. And okay, so I wanted to revisit Quinton, Simon, and Debbie Collier's cases. All right. We're going to first talk about Quinton Simon, and we're going to talk about the latest developments. I'm not going to give you a blow by blow of all the developments. What we're going to do is allow the cards to speak on the developments, and I'll share with you what I know about the latest happenings in the cases. Okay. Now, just a little background. Quinton was declared missing October 5th, 2022. I did my readings for Quinton's case on 2 days later on October 7th. So bear that in mind. It was just 2 days later, not much background, not much information other than he was missing when I did the readings. So Debbie, I believe, was reported missing on September 10th, 2022, was found later deceased the next day on September 11th, 2022. I didn't know much about her case. Why? I was going through a hurricane, my child. I was going through, so I didn't know. I just kind of heard about it. And I did her videos. I did videos on October 5th, October 7th, and October 11th. So those are the dates that I did her reading in relation to when she was first reported missing. All right. So let's get to it. Let's do this. Here is the opening oracle reading that I did for Quinton. Okay. So, I'm going to inquire. Okay. It kicked me off. Sorry about that. Let me get back to sharing my screen. So, Quinton Simon's opening oracle reading. And when you look at this, I want you all to just think about um, the players, the key players in his case. We've got his mom, we've got the grandmother. Oh, let me grab something. Got the grandmother, and I'm going to share some things with you about my thoughts about the mom, about the protesters, um, about it all. The thing is, law enforcement has to prove that there was a crime that was actually committed. And in order for a successful prosecution to happen for said crimes, there has to be evidence to back it up. And it has to, there has to be a burden that's met, right? So if this is truly a case where it's just simply negligence on her part, where it was an accident, even if she's on drug, the mom was on drugs and she passed out, even if the grandmother left her in her care, is that murder with intent? They would need to prove that. They would need to prove that. Now, if there's evidence of the mom, abusing her child, they would need to prove that. This is why it's so important that they find little Quinton. There's enough evidence, according to law enforcement, that the child was dumped in a dumpster, and that dumpster, the materials, the trash, the refuse in that dumpster was taken to a landfill, and the child is presumed to be there. And I would imagine that law enforcement feels pretty certain about that because they may have seen some surveillance video, or there's some sort of evidence in that dumpster that leads them to believe that. Okay, so that's an update. The boyfriend of the mom left, I think, about 4 days afterwards, and the police seem to imply that he's not involved. Okay. And that they named the prime suspect as the mother of Quinton. And it's just been really a circus seeing everything unfold. There's been protesters protesting outside of Billy Joe, that's the grandmother's home. And that's where the mom has been staying. Leilani has been staying. And there's been protesters day and night just going hard. Okay, just going hard. If I was the neighbors, it would be a problem. But I guess, in America, you're allowed to protest. So there you have it, even if you're disturbing the freaking peace. So they've been protesting. Then the odd thing is there's been YouTubers who are kind of like rallying the call for the protesters. So there's that faction. Then you have the other faction of those who are supporting, or at least in my eyes, I feel like they're pretending to support. They're feigning support of the grandmother and the mother. Maybe to some extent, they're supporting the grandmother, because I really sincerely feel how distraught the grandmother is. I feel it. I mean, this is enough to cause people to relapse if they've ever had a drug problem. This is enough to cause people to go into a serious depression or have a serious meltdown. And when I see the snippets of video on the grandma, I really feel her pain. You know who I don't feel remorse and pain from and sincerity from? The mom. The mom. So, I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But then now there's YouTubers on there pretending like they're supporting the mom of Quinton and the grandmother, and they're like interviewing them and guiding them to go sit outside in front of the protesters. And it's like, that is terrible advice. It's just been just a circus. Like a few days afterwards that the mom, Leilani, was named a suspect. I guess she was out. doing Patron shots allegedly with her mom and some other folks from their family or entourage at at a vacation spot not too far from where they live, at a restaurant. I don't know. Doesn't this? I'm not getting vibes. Even when she's on the news clip of her crying and carrying on, it just feels disingenuous to me. Let me stop sharing for a moment. So when I was 20 years old, not too much of a different age than Leilani. My 2-year-old son at the time, he'll be 25 in February. My 2-year-old son, Dante, he eloped. He got out of the house. Now, mind you, I had been sleeping on the couch that was in my apartment. The couch was right near the front door. And I had been up for hours upon hours because I had a baby named Devin who was in the neonatal intensive care unit. He was in the NICU, and he had been in the NICU for 6 weeks, and he had ultimately passed away. That's a whole nother story for another day. So I was exhausted, and I had come home that morning, got Dante from my parents' house, and I had no intentions of drifting off to sleep, but I was exhausted. I fell asleep on the couch. He was still asleep. And what woke me up was a breeze kind of coming across my face. And I was like, that's not normal. And it stirred me up quickly out of my sleep. And I realized that the door was ajar. So I kind of looked outside the door, like the front porch area in my apartment, like, is he there? No. Then I bolted throughout the apartment, looked at his room, looked in my room, looked in the bathroom, looked, anywhere I thought he could be at quickly. And then I opened the door, swing it open, and I'm like looking outside and I'm just frantic. I'm freaking out. I had terrible eyesight. I was dang near blind before I had LASIK surgery several years later. So I could barely see. I didn't even have time to put my glasses on to like go and look and put myself together. I'm like, where is my son? I'm freaking out. He thankfully had run super far away, and I could see him all the way. I could see his little red shirt he had on, he's fair skinned and his little fair little face. And I could see him from very far away. And I just bolted towards this little playground. The apartment complex had a playground, and it also had a pool. And thankfully, he just wanted to go off to the little playground. And when I finally got to him, I wasn't mad at him. I just wanted to scoop him up and just hold him. And I was telling him, I'm so sorry. That very day, I called my dad and my mom, and my dad came over and he put deadbolts on. He put a chain lock on the door so that could not happen again. But that would have been an accident. Even if I tried to cover it up or hide it, I would not have. If I needed to call the police, I would have called the police. But even if I didn't, accidents happen all the time with parents and children. That doesn't necessarily mean a crime occurred. And so a lot of times people are trying to compare the case of Quinton to Kaylee Anthony in the Casey Anthony case. And if all there is evidence to support that maybe an accident occurred versus some sort of I have my feelings about the Casey Anthony thing, whether or not it really was an accident. But if all the evidence supports that, people trying to go after her because they think that she murdered him. Guys, you're gonna have to allow justice to handle it. Justice isn't going to always come dressed like we want it. Lady Justice comes how she comes. I always say that in all of my Mystery Mystic Monday readings, and I stand behind it. Lady Justice comes the way she wants to and when she wants to. No sooner than that. And you may think it needs to be one way, and it's just not. And protesting all day and all night is not going to change anything about that. I'm all for freedom of speech and protest. I'm here for it. However, sometimes it just is like, I don't know what y'all doing out here. And then getting overly involved in these people's lives. like Billy Joe and Leilani and whoever else is attached to this, the son, the step brother, all that. At the end of the day, it's just a bunch of noise. So I share that story with you because with about Dante, my son, because let's say I was on drugs. And I'm tired, and this is a whole nother thing. I'm tired of people villainizing people who have drug addictions. Like people have drug addictions and there are reasons behind it, medical reasons, societal reasons. And that in and of itself doesn't make people bad people, by the way. Just have to say that. But gonna have law enforcement has to prove that a crime occurred and what was that crime and what evidence do they have to support that that crime was committed as a result of the mom. She may be a prime suspect because they have evidence of her putting the child perhaps in the dumpster, but beyond that, what else do they have? We don't know. All right. Now Kim will step off her soapbox and share the screen so we can take a look at some of the cards. Sorry, I get so passionate about this stuff. Okay, so we got girl, tree, door, hag, stump, spider, umbrella, and star. Girl and hag, two persons involved. Could it be one and of the same? Could it be the girl who actually is the hag in the situation? I'm gonna be frank here. His mom gives me insincere vibes, and she allegedly has a history of blaming boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, boyfriends for things that she may have been involved in. Okay, so she's already trying to put blame on her boyfriend, the father of her daughter. So Quinton has a little older brother, and then he has a little baby sister. And the baby sister's father, Danny, he was the one that was with Leilani, and he left 4 days after all this broke. And now she's trying to kind of imply that he's involved, or I don't know if she is, or if it's the grandmother that is. I don't know. I don't know. Wild. And going after the daycare provider, the babysitter, and whew, they were going after her. And the babysitter was saying some things on her live streams. And some people, if they were looking at this, would be like, well, what if it was the babysitter that took him? And what if it's that? Perhaps, I don't know. But what leads me to believe, according to this spread, that it is family related is the tree card. Okay. For me, the tree card represents like a family tree. The girl could be embodied as the mom of Quinton, and the hag could also be her as well. Some people would say maybe the girl is the grandmother or the hag is the grandmother. But there's a girl who tries to present herself as innocent, and then there's the actual hag. Hag is number 3. It's just next to number 4, the girl card. The girl card is associated with innocence, trying to portray I'm innocent. I think what did his mom say? Quinton's mom was like on a news clip. If they say I did anything or if I did anything wrong, I will personally walk down to the police station myself. I'm not fully believing that you don't know that you didn't do anything wrong. I believe you knew what actions you took to cover up what it is that you did. Now, maybe it is an accident that what ultimately happened to Quinton, but I don't believe that you aren't aware of what transpired after the accident happened. I don't believe it. And I don't believe it's as innocent as you're portraying. That's just me. That's my opinion. She seems very immature to me. Now, granted, she's young, but you are a mother of 3 children. by this point. I expect some level of maturity here and some real accountability, and it ain't there. The It's about fears, nightmares, and bizarre malicious encounters. Now, could it be the grandmother's fears come true? Could be. And we have the stump card. Something ending prematurely, resistance may indicate the need to extract yourself from a certain situation. So that was going on with the boyfriend of Quinton's mom, and something ending prematurely, Quinton's life, presumably. And the spider. This is what I found interesting, the spider card. The spider card is strong and powerful female energies. And we're picking up on there's this alliance now that it seems between the grandmother and the mother. Now, of course, she's going to probably have her daughter's back. But on the other hand, you voluntarily were in custody of Quinton and his brother. You had to protect those children above your relationship with your daughter. I don't know. It's odd to me. And so the card meaning with spider is about carefully designing one's life. And with the spider card, it can sometimes, for me, my personal definition is someone who is like a Black widow. Got to look out for them. And especially when you have it come out with a strong female presence in the spread, as we do with the girl and the hag cards. Umbrella. It's about a bad omen and protection from something beyond control, and someone needing to be protected, someone needing to have a sanctuary. And this also could speak to this faction of YouTube who's been providing a sanctuary for the mom and the grandmother, could speak to that. And the door card. Well, this struck out to me early on, because when I did this reading 2 days after he was declared missing, I think the mom was like, oh, he may have gone out the door. And then a lot of folks were saying, no, he wouldn't have been able to do that. And this is about choices. The door is also about choices. The hag made a choice, and so honestly, it's looking to me like this was telling us that this is a family connection with the tree card. Somebody making a choice to go ahead and support this bizarre stuff, and also the bizarre and what was it, bizarre malicious encounters. This is what's also transpiring in front of their house with all the protests, and then what's spilling out onto YouTube, and this pitchfork mentality of like, we're going to take her down. And it's like, we have a system of laws in the United States. Got to allow due process to occur. And I know I don't have a lot of faith in the justice system. However, this ain't it. The star card is about hope. It's about abundance. It's about having a sense of clarity, vision. And I like to think that there is hope in this situation with this card. The hope would be that he's found, that justice is properly served, at least the justice that we're all hoping for. But each of us kind of have our own brand of justice on what we're hoping for. All right, let's move on to the next cards. Alone in the world, is this me? Bride in a cage, anger in chains. And And then October and police intervention in law enforcement. What I will talk mostly about is the October and police intervention. Um, October, a lot happened with this case. It kicked off October, what was it? October, went missing October 5th, October 7th. And then she was soon named, Leilani, was soon named a prime suspect in October. Then we've got all these protests, and then we've got all this, they're searching actively the landfills. The FBI is searching, law enforcement is searching. Oh, and that was the other thing. There, the grandmother and the mom and whoever else supports them. Oh, well, they won't allow us to search for him. Really? You're not going to take your butt out to the landfill. Nobody is really expecting you to do that. But you're the one you, Leilani, were the one that was purporting that something else may have happened. Well, if something else happened, go search for him and where the something else happened. You're not searching, and then these like empty justice for Quinton Simon that she yells at the screen when the protesters are recording her, or when she's on the Leilani sympathizer YouTube channels. When she's on there, she's saying it, and it just feels so empty. It just feels like that's all you're doing is day in and day out just sitting there, and it's just no remorse. I don't know. It just doesn't sit well with me. Anger and chains. The anger is amplifying. I'm afraid something's going to jump off and happen in front of their house. It's just a very volatile situation. I was believing at the time that I did the reading that the anger and chains had more to do with maybe something that happened, maybe some corporal punishment that went awry. I don't know. But October and police intervention and law enforcement definitely unfolded. Definitely unfolded. Oops, let me go. So I'm just gonna touch on some cards here. We won't stay long. I've already talked your ear off enough, but I'm hoping that this will also give me an opportunity to chat with you during the premiere. So as I ramble, we can chit chat. Vehicle, uncle, two or more. Let me see if you can see where I'm circling here. Signs, reverse ace of cups, page of wands, someone youthful and young-minded who doesn't really have love. I'm just, I'm not feeling a genuine love from the mom. It's my opinion. Why are they honking? Please move along. The vehicle tells me that there could be evidence that um, she drove him from the home. She walked out that door. Remember the door card in the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle. She has a unique look to her. I don't know if she's mixed with something, some sort of islander or some level of Asian descent. I don't know, but the mom looks, and so does Quinton, has a different look about them. And it was interesting to me that the cards that came out that kind of showed this European slash like Asian influence. And this whole thing has been eccentric. I don't have many questions. I usually keep notes of the questions that I ask during the readings. It helps me to stay on track. Okay, so nature of his disappearance. And we got the page of wands, the reversed ace of cups, signs, two or more. So two or more is either actively involved in what happened to him, or two or more know about what happened. Uncle could mean that an uncle is aware of what happened or is involved. It also could just simply mean a close familial relationship to what happened to Quinton. Vehicle drove away. Something involving a vehicle moved away. Um, so there's that. We have who or what is responsible for his disappearance. We have the world card and the reverse two of wands, and then we have those European features, highly attractive and eccentric. I don't know if his mama is highly attractive, but what sometimes it's not so much the keywords, it's the images. And when I see that female there that kind of looks a little bit kind of like Islander or Asian descent of some sort, is speaking to something to me. The world card is about who was supposed to be Quinton's world and who could have had a hand in this. Well, typically a child's world is their parents or their grandparents. So um, we have what happened to Quinton, what is his current state of being. Oh, this was rough. This was rough. What happened to him, natural surroundings, the world. There was another world card that I used from a different deck, or that card jumped. It's about an ending. What was interesting is that Spirit didn't really reveal so much about where he might be at for me in this reading. I know some people picked up on that. I'm a firm believer that, Spirit reveals certain things through certain readers and intuitives. And so I don't worry too much about that anymore. What was interesting to me was the changed appearance card up here. And this is telling me that at first we had a whole perception of Quinton's mom being just like out of sight, out of mind. Then she started making the appearances on the news, that one clip where she's crying and trying to portray herself as innocent. And I just could see her in court, have her hair pulled back in a bun, or she's, looking very, very, trying to make herself look very, very innocent. Some people fear that she could be a flight risk because she's been named as a prime suspect. She hasn't been arrested. Although sitting underneath that card, the changed appearance card, we got arrest and caught. And then we've got the card months. So this is going to be months in the making that perhaps happened. There's some clues and key information about what may have happened and transpired on the computer. There's a bank of information. There's also a concern about finances. I believe that child support was ordered or issued out for the children against, Leilani. And I don't think it was necessarily initiated by the grandmother. I think it was by the state, because what happens is if you're receiving some form of assistance, the child support then is almost automatically enacted against the non-custodial parent. And so that could have been also something that's something kind of percolating in the background. And then there's a breakdown here with the breakup. It seems a breakup between Leilani and her daughter's father with the irreconcilable differences. Now, over here, we have spring, accident, forest path, mossy, can't escape, choke, 110 to 160 kilometers, in gray hair color. Now, I know that for me, the accident card is speaking strongly to me. Could he have accidentally choked on water in the bathtub or in the pool? Could he have choked on something? Could someone have choked him, taken his breath? Because that is question. Let's see. Clues on where he may be now. It's interesting. 110 to 160 kilometers away. Evidence could be there as well. I don't know. Forest path or mossy. The landfill where they have been searching is in a very foresty type of area, but that doesn't necessarily mean he could be there. I don't know. Can't escape. I'm still stumped a bit on that card, can't escape. I don't think I was stumped at the time of the reading, but now as things have kind of unfolded, you know. Um, and then this one, can I assume it'll let me? But the white cards here, it says, oh, of DNA evidence may be influencing this case, no doubt about it. If someone had cleaned up a scene, had thrown away stuff that's now in a landfill, yeah. Um, this crime may be solved by DNA testing or other scientific methods. That could very well be the case. Jealousy, an affair, or love related crime. And love related crime is what I'm picking up on. And that's again speaking to the familial connection. This isn't a stranger danger kind of situation where this child was abducted. And then finally, it says the killer has a history of committing crimes. It doesn't have to be crimes like this, it just says crimes. And so that is question number 5. So we have here. But what we had here in this last set of cards, we have 8 of Swords, mental jail. They're certainly in a mental jail under great anxiety and stress, kind of to their own making, the grandmother and the mother of Quinton, in my honest opinion. I mean, all of this is really to their making. If it truly was an accident, you could have handled it accordingly, like an accident, even if you were under the influence of drugs. You have to sometimes just kind of eat that, and take accountability. And I'm just not seeing it there. And then engaging with the protesters, you are creating your own hell. Okay. The human trafficking card is speaking about movement of a human being, movement. And that's further supported by the card sitting underneath it with the taxi, public transport, moving of the child going southeast. And the opportunity, random, and impulse card is speaking to this was an impulsive thing that this person did. This wasn't planned. This wasn't planned out. Like I'm plotting and planning to do this. Now, ultimately, she planned the cover up, but not necessarily what may have happened to little Quinton. Okay. And then the evidence card says fire, some sort of destruction of evidence has taken place. Okay. I think we're now going into Debbie's reading now. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. So where does that leave us now with him? I am going to look at my dandy notes and see if there was anything else I wanted to ask here. Is there anything else I want to ask? About Quinton. Spirit, do this. If, one card, please. Thank you. If Quinton is actually in that landfill, you reveal that to us. We're going to get a maybe. The Hanged Man. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get, I don't know if I'm going to get answers on that. I'm going to see. Where is he? Is he somewhere else? Oh, let me ask that question. In the area of the landfill, but let me tell you, have you ever been to a landfill? I have on a few occasions in my life, and I'm talking about a needle in a haystack. Like even if he's there, they may never find him. Oh, I think he may be in the landfill. And I'm show you. So we have the hanged man. There's kind of like, you may find him with this maybe here. And then when I asked, is he anywhere else? We got we have these out ready to go, but I wasn't sure if I was going to do this. Is going to be a long video. Garrett, is there anything else you can reveal to us today about little Quinton Simon? The hanged man is telling us that we are going to have to just kind of hang back, surrender, have a whole new perspective in all of this. We are not going to necessarily be able to just get answers right away. It's going to take a while for the unfoldment of everything to happen. Like the card said, it said months. And the Eight of Swords, swords is tied to me for the timing of months. So if you say Eight of Swords, you could say 8 months. The Hanged Man, serves me correct. Well, yeah, February, end of winter, February 21st to March 20th. So I don't know. These cards aren't really telling me anything, and that's okay. We're gonna let that be for now. I'm not gonna do any more readings on Quinton's case at this moment. If something new develops, or I feel called, or spirit says yes, please do a reading on it, I will. But we gonna let that baby rest. It's over here at Mystery Mystic Monday. All right, so yeah. To Debbie, because this video is long. I was not intending that, but it's okay. Those who watch and y'all will watch, do me a favor and hit the like button. It does help me out. It's awareness for those lesser known cases that I cover, cold cases, and the cases surrounding folks who just don't get the attention that they deserve. Okay, so back to my notes. Keep so many notes. Now we're going to talk about Debbie's case for just a little bit, not as in depth as Quinton. Quinton's is really tugging at the heart because he's a baby, he's a child, and he has not been found. Whereas Debbie has been found. She wasn't missing, but missing for a day. She has a mysterious death that has occurred, and that's also a bit odd. It's a bit odd. That whole case is just odd as well, to be perfectly frank. As I mentioned before, Debbie was missing September 10th, 2022, and then found in this ravine kind of area, like several miles away from her home on September 11th. And I don't know. Police had early on indicated that they felt that this was a homicide. And then they, like, not too long after declaring that, they said that they felt that it was personal and deliberate. And they kind of, doubled down on the fact that it was a homicide. Then recently, in the last week or two, there's been leaks to the news media that, oh, well, now we're thinking it may not have been a homicide. It could have been what people are calling an unaliving, to avoid getting all tripped up with, social media of Big Daddy. So they say unaliving, someone taking their own life. and then, or it could have been an accident. And people are really struggling with that naturally. I struggle with the idea that she could have taken her life in this form. If they're saying, because they're also, it was, I think it was leaked that she may have died from, like, I'm assuming suffocation from smoke. Um, Although there's been nothing about tox reports coming out, no official cause of death, no autopsy, but these leaks are coming out. And I question the validity of the leaks. I know sometimes you can have leaks and they're very much the truth. And sometimes you can have leaks and they're, figments of somebody's imagination or they're little bits of truth. So it remains to be seen. What's really sad about her case is when you see her son looks dead on her. Like he looks, it's spitting image of his mom. And it's heartbreaking because he lives in Maryland and he's been trying to get information from law enforcement about what's the state of the case, where is it at, what may have happened, why is there leaks happening from, what is presumed to be law enforcement. And law enforcement, I guess, put out in a local newspaper that the leaks are unsubstantiated and they're still investigating the case. They've got a arson, I guess, investigator looking into it. But then when her son, Debbie's son, contacted the sheriff, the local sheriff who's in charge of, I guess, investigating it, they were like, every time he would make a comment, the sheriff, he would kind of snicker. And the sheriff kind of said, oh, well, I have a nervous laugh. I am one of those people who have nervous laughs. And there are times where you just need to make sure that you keep that under control. And I just really empathize with Debbie's family, especially her son. And I have my own feelings about her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend. Her daughter's boyfriend has been all over like YouTube, making the rounds, leaving nasty comments, leaving comments about Debbie's son and trying to deflect away from attention from him. And then, and his girlfriend, even though him and his girlfriend, Debbie's daughter, has had a very volatile relationship. If I play devil's advocate, I can understand wanting to defend yourself. But then he starts kind of making these accusations about, oh, I don't know. We're not going to even put too much energy into him. But it was revealed in a leak that Debbie had sent the message with the Venmo, the $2,400 Venmo payment, and a message, a cryptic little message attached to that Venmo to her daughter. It was revealed that she sent it from her phone in the Family Dollar parking lot, and that she also sent a message to her son saying, I love you, but that message didn't go through. And then Debbie's daughter's boyfriend was on Bed Crime Stories, I think it's the YouTube channel. He was saying, oh, well, that's because Debbie's son didn't get it because Debbie's son blocked his mother. And it's just like, why are if love for your daughter, then you should have enough love for her family to not be out here saying nasty stuff on YouTube. Like, what is wrong with you? And we answers. We want Debbie to, get the proper justice, right? We want it to be thoroughly investigated. If it turns out it's an accident, it's an accident. If it turns out she did something to herself, it's kind of far-fetched in my opinion, but stranger things, I guess, have happened. Okay. But it sounds to me like something sinister happened. So her son is pleading for answers, and there's been no recent press conferences. And I think that's unacceptable. I think I get law enforcement not wanting to show their hands, and they may want to just kind of keep a lot of information to themselves. But you could say that in a press conference. You could say, we're still investigating. We can't take many questions, but we just want to let you know that. And we will have a meeting with the key family members that we need to, and we want to let the community know we're still actively investigating. I don't know. I don't think that's asking too much, but I could be wrong. So I'm going to just share a few cards and then we'll wrap this up. Okay. Because yeah, it's going to be heck long, but I just need to do this. Sometimes I just got to get it off my chest. Otherwise, it'll just percolate around in the brain and I can't have that. It needs to get out. I need to share with you guys. All right. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing over here. So now I'm sharing with you Debbie's opening oracle reading. And giving you the latest that I know is a very like Cliff's Notes version. If y'all remember Cliff's Notes, do they even do have Cliff's Notes anymore? Let me know in the comments section if you remember Cliff's Notes and if they're still around. So, with all that being said, now that you know, let's look at this oracle reading. So we got the dagger card, we got dove, broom, snake, and mushroom. Now, some of the theories coming out of the Facebook groups have just been wild. Okay. And I'm not trying to discredit them because everybody is allowed to a theory. And sometimes there's some, you could kind of see a theory being like, okay, I could possibly see it. But there's been a theory that maybe she was in the woods cooking meth and then she had a fire, it was accidental and a fire ensued and she burnt herself. And there's some people who were saying that maybe she had gone there to harm herself and then she kind of got woozy and then maybe fell in the fire. There's that. There's some people who say she actually tried to engulf herself in flames and take her life that way. So there's all these different theories. And sometimes when we're doing these readings as readers and intuitives and psychics, sometimes I feel like we're also intuitively picking up on the noise and the theories that are surrounding a case and not necessarily what actually is unfolding, if you know what I mean. So just have to say that. Now, the dagger card, deceit, betrayal, hidden aggressions. Now, could this be self-deceit? Perhaps. Could it be deceit that people aren't necessarily telling all of their entire truths? I believe that, and I still do believe that about Debbie's case. And until law enforcement makes an official announcement, it's really difficult for me to believe in any leaks, and it's really even more difficult for me to believe in theories. I want to hear what the evidence actually had to say. Let's follow the evidence. Sometimes evidence is not going to lead you to answers, by the way, but I feel like we're going to get more answers when the autopsy results are released, when they have the arson investigation concluded, when her tox screens come back. And guess what? That could take a long time, believe it or not, even in a high profile case. It could take a while. So we may not get answers for a good while, just so you know. The dove is about peace, a time of harmony, healing, good health. So this could be a card that kind of demonstrates her wanting peace, her needing and craving peace. It also, as someone I have personally dealt with thoughts of harm back when I was way younger, way younger, and during the time when I lost my son, my infant son. Yeah. And sometimes the thought of the peace that could come from just leaving this world is it gives you great peace and solace. So that could speak to that. Could speak to that. The interesting thing though is why did she $2,400 to her daughter who has a known drug addiction? I don't understand it. I don't get it. And then she's saying she left the key under the pot, and the I guess it was a flower pot, a blue flower pot. I don't understand that. And so I guess if we could have a better understanding about the message, then maybe it has nothing to do with it. Maybe Debbie promised the $2,400 to her daughter to help her daughter out, although that's a large amount of money to help somebody who just moved back into town and who has a known history of substance abuse, to just hand over. Now, maybe maybe that money is for something. Maybe it's for a co-payment for a major medical procedure. Maybe it is for can't be a deposit, because I think her daughter was moving into one of Debbie's husband's properties. So maybe it was to buy some furniture. I don't know. But it just seems odd to me that her daughter is very mum about it. Like, to me, why can't you just explain, oh yeah, my mom was gonna give me that money, like she promised me 2 weeks ago that we were gonna use it for this. It's just really odd to me. And some people are like, well, her poor daughter. The verdict's still out for me about her daughter. At the very least, I feel like her daughter, like, in her addiction and in her toxicity and all of the things that she had been going through with her prior relationships, she made her mother's life hell. And her mom ended up being an enabler. And I don't know to what extent Debbie's husband was an enabler, but I understand how drug addiction can come in and just tear up a family. And it can make people who are under the influence do desperate things. So I don't know. I don't know if she did it or not, but 39, Broom, get situation in order, domestic duties, and erotic encounter. I don't know if in the autopsy, if they checked if there was any, something sexual that happened to Debbie. I hope not, but I hope they are able to. I hope that she wasn't in such a state, burned to such a state that they couldn't check for that. The other thing is the domestic duties and getting affairs in order. Perhaps the 2,400 to her daughter was getting affairs in order. Her sending a message from her phone. And that's the other thing. People are like, well, no one was in the vehicle with her. Do we really, really know that? And do we really know that no one, just perhaps, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just don't know why she would send that message, why she would send I love you to her son. I don't know. Puzzle to me. Snake, fear, sexual fantasies, temptations. Did she encounter someone? Maybe she encountered someone that was, that is not necessarily family. Maybe someone that she encountered when she pulled off the side of the road. Why did she pull off the side of the road? Why that spot? Most locals, from what I can tell, are like, it's just really strange. Was she in fear of something? Did she have a mental breakdown and that caused irrational fear? And then we have 80, mushroom. Failure, poor decisions. I initially attributed that to maybe her daughter or even Debbie. Doubt, taking a risk, a growing problem. Could the growing problem be her mental well-being? Was Debbie under some sort of influence of psychotic drugs or something that could cause, some psychosis? I don't know. But the mushroom card, I initially thought had to do with her daughter, but I could be wrong. Then we had forgetting oneself in the oracle card here, and addicted. Forgetting oneself and addicted. Now, when you are addicted to something, you can ultimately forget yourself. You can lose who you are. Was that initially we were probably thinking it was her daughter, but could that have been someone else? Could that have even been Debbie herself in retrospect? Some of the other oracle cards that came up were illegal activities played a role. Victims didn't know the traitor. Premeditated. The perpetrator planned out the details in advance. And additional evidence is at this crime scene. Now, could she, if we're talking about self-harm, even if it's an accident, Or I would say self-harm, and maybe she premeditated this whole, like Debbie premeditated all of this, and she planned out this whole elaborate thing of going to take her life. That could speak to that. But then I circle back to the illegal activities played a role. Well, what were those illegal activities? And then I heard that law enforcement left quite a bit of evidence and quite a mess at the scene where they found Debbie. And it's really disturbing because they were like, oh, now it was leaked that there was a gas can that was, I guess, had exploded or whatever. And then they went back and got and retrieved pieces. And they also think that there was an accelerant on her. Now, did she put the accelerant on herself or did someone else put the accelerant on her? Those are my questions. I think y'all want to know that. Like, if there really is an accelerant and there's a gas can, and then also there's other, there was other evidence, I guess, that was left behind that people were commenting on YouTube, on Facebook, about that it was just a very poor job that law enforcement did. And also what's disturbing is that, where's FBI? Are you just assisting? Are you actually really involved? What are you doing? What you doing? Tied up and bound. To me, I thought that meant that there is someone else involved. Southeast, I know she was doing a lot of traveling that day, a lot of traveling. Spring, perhaps spring is speaking to when we're going to get answers. And then uniform impersonation, corruption, and false beliefs on that. And I just feel like someone is giving off false information. Who is ultimately leaking this information? Is it truly law enforcement or is it someone else? The news people say that these are credible sources. Well, we don't want to hear from them until they're ready to attach their name to what they were stating. Next oracle reading, we have daughter, lovers. I still feel like to some extent that her daughter has some understanding, even if she knew that her mom was maybe mentally like losing it or stressed out, maybe she knows that, but this also could be that maybe there's some level of it knowing and involvement with her daughter. Could be. There was two different hair color cards, which indicates to me two different people who may be involved. The forest card was interesting. That's ultimately where Debbie was found. There's probably still even more key evidence there, just like that other oracle card said. We got choke, which does jive with suffocation. That's information that came out after I did this reading, but can't escape. That would imply that she needed and wanted to escape, but she couldn't. Signs and child. Oh no. And the angel here, my thoughts. Let me know what you all think. Justice. What's the card here? And money may be involved. And let's circle back to justice for a moment. Justice is speaking to her. Remember, I always say Lady Justice comes when and how she wants. She comes how and when she wants. She doesn't come any moment sooner than we want her to come soon, but sometimes she ain't coming soon, and sometimes she doesn't come in the way we think she's gonna come. But it's comforting to see that justice means that we may get some form of answers to what may have happened. And I believe that the leaks were saying that, law enforcement feels that it's imminent that the case may be resolved soon. And I didn't like that word. I don't know if they used the word resolve, but they used something that was like that it would be wrapped up. And I'm like, what does that mean? So what are y'all really saying here? It says details leading up to the murder may be worth investigating. That's true. What was her mental health state? Has she been seeing a counselor or therapist? Has she been taking medications for depression or other kinds of medications? What medications? If they do a tox screen, when it's revealed what kind of drugs are in her system, does she have prescription for those drugs? If not, where does she get those drugs from? How did those drugs get into her system? Were they just kind of sitting in her throat, or were they, part of her bloodstream? Okay. Perpetrator sustained a wound during the attack. We got the premeditated, they planned it. That came out again. A witness may not be fully disclosing all of the facts. I'm a firm believer in that. I believe that there are people who really, truly have a clue on what happened, if not just a clue, serious involvement. Take a closer look at one of the suspects. I hope law enforcement, I'm just, these small town enforcement agencies, I worry. They don't usually have a lot of resources. They're not usually equipped to handle certain kinds of high profile homicide investigations. And that's why it's imperative for them to call in, the next higher level agency. In this case, it would be the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the GBI, and then the FBI. And they didn't call in GBI, and I don't know to what extent FBI is helping. The perpetrator worked in the area. Multiple people were involved in the crime, and this case will remain unsolved until key evidence is discovered, which took my breath away. There is a rehab facility very close to where she was found, and you know, could have been somebody. I guess the folks at that rehab is men's rehab facility, and I guess they're allowed to kind of walk those trails that were over where she was at, Tallulah Falls. They're allowed to go there, and they probably don't have cell phones. You're not allowed to when you're in rehab, I believe. You're not allowed to have cell phones, from what I understand. And maybe it could have been one of them or two of them. I don't know. Because I guess there's a nursery as a part of the rehab facility that's open to the public. So there has been a few whispers that maybe, she was, the reason why she got a tarp was to lay down in the back of the rental car for plants. And I totally used to do that when I lived in California. And I would go buy plants for the house, and I would lay something down in the back of the car. So, if, dirt or soil falls out of the pots, I could just quickly take the tarp up and dump it out. So that made sense to me. I don't know, y'all. Let me know your thoughts. Please, 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 please let me know your thoughts. This spread is probably the first tarot spread and oracle spread that I did. I'm just gonna kind of hit on some different parts here. Let me go back to my questions because so many parts. Repeat that far. It's part two, but I know I did a part one. There's part three. I don't know where her part one is. I may have put in another um, journal, and I'm not going to go look. We're just going to look at some key cards. Hermit and Ten of Swords. And that could allude to self-harm, going off into, or even accidental. It could just say this is a terrible, painful ending for her. But this Ten of Swords here, after going off on her own, going into solitude with the Hermit. The drastic oracle card says extreme, harsh, cut off. The grip card says anchor, chains, weighed down, and divine feminine. Divine feminine told me that some feminine elements is involved with this. Could be Debbie herself, or it could be another female. But drastic, extreme, harsh, cut off. Got the Sun, the Queen of Swords, peaceful among thorns, family, the family card sitting over the house. There was arguing, I heard the night before she went, the day, on September 10th. So September 9th, a neighbor heard two females arguing, or at least that's what a rumor is, that they heard two females arguing coming from Debbie's home, Debbie and her husband's home. Okay. They weren't probably able to make out who those were. Or was she on the phone with somebody, maybe on speaker? They don't know. I don't know. That forgetting oneself card came up again. Karmic partners. That's interesting to me. What else? I'm a passion, twin, poison, something very toxic. I would interpret that when I did the reading as either a toxic situation or consuming something toxic or someone forcing something toxic onto you, whether it's a toxic situation or actual poison to the body. And then we have the FBI and CIA card. FBI, where are you? What are you doing? Can we hear from you, please? Three of Swords is about like a sense of betrayal, a sense of letdown, disappointments, heartbreak, mental health. The mental health card is interesting. It's interesting, right? Let's see that a card up here. Important details are not. Let me go back over here by the spying card. Someone watching her. Important details are not being revealed to the public at this time. I think that's what it says. I can't see it very clear. So there's important details that are not being shared with us, and we just have to be okay with it. Mental health down here. Well, whose mental health? Debbie's mental health, her daughter, her son, her husband, the perpetrator could very well just be Debbie's mental health, right? Country, wilderness, green and lush, hanged man, reverse chariot. The suspect lives near the scene of the crime, planned, someone had a helper, and body of water or boat, and that the perpetrator has a history of committing crimes, which kind of is like, did she encounter someone? Because it does say in one of the earlier readings I did, or oracle readings, that she may not have known the person. I don't know. But it would be helpful if we understand why she was there in the first place. Why that side of the road? Has she been there before? Are they able to pull all of her cell phone records and be able to ping and see if she had been traveling there, and stopping off, or not just there, but just stopping off in weird spots in the past, being on her own. Some people do that. Some people need to get away, and this is their way of getting away. And no one really knows that but them. So it could very well be that this was a part of her MO. We don't know that though. I think this was the reading dealing with her and her husband that I did. I think that is part that I do have the questions. Oh, you know what? I did have the original questions to that last video, but we were not going to go backwards. Oh, but I do kind of want to go back to what was the Venmo for. I think one of you all had asked, was the Venmo spent? The Venmo was spent. I remember off the top of my head, the Venmo was spent. 24 hours leading up to her death, what was on Debbie's heart and mind? Swords, time for a heart to heart. She was under a lot of pressure. She was done. That's what this oracle card says here. She was done. She's feeling a bit nostalgic with the Six of Cups, a sense of gratitude. Mixed emotions here. Words. Let me know y'all's thoughts. But what stands out to me is the pressure cooker, Six of Cups, and the Done card. Who is responsible for the death of Debbie? I like to ask that because it kind of keeps it open, like if she's responsible, like accidental or not accidental, she intended to do it, or if someone else did it. I like to keep it like an open-ended question. We got the 10 of Wands, the Emperor, the reverse strength, keeping tabs on you, resentful, out of sight, out of mind, selfish, lockbox, closed in, trapped, and frustrated. This could represent someone else, but it also could represent her. She could, sometimes they say that when you take your own life, it's an act of selfishness. And I know some people will probably be in my comments like, no, it's not. They're suffering. As someone who has attempted herself, I understand, but there is some level of I'm only consumed about any my pain, and then, yeah, I can't really be, I'm not consumed about how everybody else is going to feel. That's not right or wrong, it just is. So then question number 3, what happened to her? Guilty, oh wow, guilty, regret, reflecting, the high priestess, mental health. Wow. 8 of Swords in reverse. Oh, and then we asked, was she killed before being burnt? Interesting. We got the cleansing card, and it literally shows like a burning sage. They're saying she passed away from suffocation, though. They just said suffocation, and I think we're all assuming it's smoke inhalation of some sort, but I don't know. I don't. They didn't. They just used the word suffocation. Let me see anything else out here that sticks out to me. There she is. Hi, guys. So this is actually to the question, was Debbie killed before being burnt? So when I look at my questions here, this is actually no. So this is what this 3 of Swords is for. It's no, but I was picking up on betrayal, let down. But no, this card, the 3 of Swords, answers to the question of, was Debbie killed before being burnt? And she was not. Now, let's back. This is just dealing with the questions surrounding husband's involvement. And question number 4, where was he? Where was he at the time she passed? He was I seriously think he was at work. I think that's what these cards are speaking to over here, the King of Swords. Okay. Does he know who did this? This question here. We have the 8 of Cups and the Moon. Both of these indicate no, in which that then tells me he is not the one that has any involvement with this. And then we ask the last card questions. What do the police think about Steve? And for the most part, I got it just a sense that they think he's an up and up guy in a really crappy situation. We see that with the mismanagement of life and funds. We see that with the Knight of Coins. And he was just in an impossible situation because he was married to a woman who was dealing with a child who was all consuming, an adult child who was having issues. And, you know, it's just an impossible situation. And then look at the evidence. Look at the last card, evidence and fire. Oh, I kept you here long enough, didn't I? Didn't I? We had to go through all of these cards again because it's just interesting to look at it as things have unfolded and seeing what's been revealed. I'm now going to see if there's anything I want to throw a card on with her. I wanted to see what was next in the investigation. What is next? What's coming up next? Debbie Collier's investigation. I Verse 4 of Wands. Cooperates with me and sometimes it don't. Got the reverse 4 of Wands, the upright, well, it's kind of sideways. So I'll read kind of both interpretations of the 4 of Cups, 2 4s, and then the 7 of so Spirit, and maybe you can tell me this. Hold on. Find out what happened to Debbie. Judgment. That does indicate yes. But it's going to come with a lot of criticism, a lot of speculation and doubt, people not really taking or accepting what the answer is. So we got the Judgment card, but it was in reverse. Okay. We will find out. And the Judgment, actually, definitely in Judgment time, October 21st to November 20th. Now that could be next October 21st to November 20th, or it could be this one. I don't know. Or it just may not even have anything to do with the date ranges. But there's going to be doubt, there's going to be criticism, there's going to be people who are not believing what is coming about, what are the answers, but there will be some form of judgment and answers coming for her case. Now, the reverse 4 of Wands indicates conflict again, breakdown in communication, which has been happening 4 weeks back, 4 weeks forward. 4 of Wands represents the timing of weeks for me or the season of spring. So if I say 4 of Wands, 4 weeks, and there's a breakdown of communication and has been. There's been, and it also indicates home conflict. So there's going to be some bickering within the family. There may already be bickering within the family that we don't see, and that's fine. We don't need to be all up in their business like that. Okay. Then we've got the 4 of Cups. So at some point, some people are going to become apathetic to Debbie's case because they're going to be like, well, if police are just thinking this, then why should we care? And that's what we don't want. The police have not did an official press conference, right? And we need to wait for them before we not care. Her son has put out a plea for people to press law enforcement for answers. So, let's just be careful about becoming apathetic to what's going on to the case. Okay. 7 of Pentacles is about law enforcement diligently sticking it out and investing still in this case to get answers. There's such a public interest in this case that I feel like they really can't just turn a blind eye to that. Some cases go cold because nobody is really paying attention to it. And law enforcement, they end up having all of these cases that pile up, and then over time it's like the cases that were once new become cold. But this one, I don't know if it's going to be oh god, I don't know, you guys. I was like, this card came, but arrest or caught. But that, arrest or caught could just simply mean that the answers are revealed, right? Could mean that. I would need to stick those in there. I'll just see if it comes up again. So this one has really stumped me. That secrets, cover up, and withholding information. There's probably good reason too to withhold information from those who might be involved. Land came up again. Doesn't necessarily mean it's someone outside of Debbie, though, but you know, good. I look probably like the area where she was at, doesn't it? Well, anyways, you all, I've kept you here long enough. Please do me a favor, hit the like button on your way out. It really does help the channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you weren't here with me during the premiere as I was doing this whole thing, leave a comment. Share with me your theory. Share with me your intuitive hits. What do you think happened either in the Quinton Simon case or in the Debbie Collier case? I probably should have separated these two videos. I didn't, or separated the two cases and had their own videos. I did not realize it was going to be this long, but you know what? I did it, and now I can move on. And it is my hope and prayer that answers come soon in both cases. I'm praying for that, especially, when you have families who are grieving and mourning and you can publicly see that, it just really tugs at the heartstrings. No matter what we think about, um, Quentin Simon's mom or even the grandmother, no matter what, there's still folks who loved him and who are grieving. And so it's imperative that answers come forward, right? All right, you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I'm gonna wrap this up now and upload this massively long video, and I'll see you all later. Don't forget to check out the upcoming Mystery Mystic Monday videos. We've got more to come. Bye.